Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm just here today to do a bit more playing around with our collage pieces. We've been doing a few bits of collage. So far we've done these few kind of envelope pockets. So we've got a kind of smallish, top loading one. We've got a smallish side loading pocket, and then we've got this big envelope here that's loading at the top. And obviously we've got our initial collage page that we also did kind of in the first this isn't really a series, but that we did in the first part of this. Now, so that's my first collage page that we did, and as you can see, we've gradually kind of evolved and moved away more from this one, which was very green based and kind of neutrally, and we've kind of gradually been like adding kind of red, and now we're obviously have been adding the blue into there. So I'm just going to pop these out of the way and then show you kind of what I've been doing, in slow time, kind of in the background, in preparation for kind of doing more videos. So I've got this beautiful cover. This was from a vintage book. I gifted the book to somebody, but I did keep hold of the cover. So I thought this would just tie in brilliantly with the collage pieces. So if I just bring one back for a minute, doesn't that just tie in perfectly with the pieces that we've been doing? I just love it. So we can either kind of like, tear bits, or we'll probably do a bit of both. I'm thinking we'll kind of tear bits off and kind of include them in our collage, because obviously on here we've got the kind of red writing or the red text, and then I thought we might use a larger portion of this as a kind of basis, for a collage piece. And I'm just going to experiment around really, but I wondered about kind of doing something where we just have a very small portion of collage just kind of to the side, or at the top or something like that. We're just going to have a play around and see how that looks. I don't know. I'm new to this collage kind of thing as well. So we'll just have a play. So I've got that. I'm just going to put that to one side. And then what else I've been doing? So obviously you can see I've been chucking pieces onto the pile. So I've chucked all of these little ruffles that we watched the other day. Gone with the Wind. My children had never seen Gone with the Wind. And we'd been out for a walk, and we came home and we had a few hours before dinner. So it was a windy, horrible day, and they had been talking about it because apparently, I think I might have mentioned this before in a video, so I apologise if I'm repeating myself. Apparently it was the highest, I think the highest grossing film of all time, if like the equivalent of today, if you see what I mean. So of its time, monetary value, if that was translated into today's values, I think, is what my son had found out in his kind of media lesson. So he'd mentioned it, and I said, oh, well, let's watch it. So we did. And whilst we were watching it, I just sat and hand stitched all these little tiny ruffles. Now, I've used these before quite often in my journals, but they're great to have kind of a few on hand. So this was my the duration of Gone with the Wind's productions here. So there we go, lots and lots and lots. And I've also done a few of these kind of scrappy little blooms as well, that I'm hoping all of these little pieces that, I don't know whether I'm going to put these pieces in a journal yet, or whether I'm going to do a massive embellishment kit. I haven't quite decided, but I'm hoping that some of these ruffles would fit really nicely either with the journal, or obviously when if I came to sell the kits, I could obviously kind of pop them as, not all of them, obviously just a few of them, as part of the kit. So that was the plan. So that's what I've been busy kind of doing, in slow time. And I also dug out a few postage stamps, vintage postage stamps, that were in the colours, again, that we've been using so far on this particular kind of collage piece. So I've got here kind of reddy orange. So I just dug out a few that I just thought were kind of bright colours and would look, awesome with our kind of collaging. So I'm just going to pop all this to one side quickly. That's where it will all slide down and drop off of my desk. So let's fingers crossed it doesn't. So what I thought we'd do is get started with what we just talked about. So I'm just going to kind of tear roughly around this. I mean, obviously this was a vintage book, not hugely vintage, but I think it was the 50s. So, you know, it's pretty kind of fragile in places. So was able to kind of tear that nicely. So I'm just going to kind of tear it down here as well. Actually, I'm just thinking what a shame that I did that, because I could have made that a little booklet. Well, what I might do is tear across here, because I only want a small portion. I didn't want this picture, you know, in the pieces anyway. So I'm just going to kind of tear that off like that. Now, I mean, this is probably, you know, thick enough as a tuck spot. I'm always a little bit sceptical as to whether or not pieces are thick enough. So I may reinforce this if I decide it needs it, but I might do that later. So literally, I'm just going to kind of take a couple of pieces, and I'm hoping that we can just kind of collage a little bit on the corner or at the side, keeping the rest of it kind of intact. So for me, because, you know, if you watch my channel, you'll know that I'm a little bit obsessed with the whole matchy thing. And because I've been doing these videos over kind of a period of a couple of weeks, but I'm trying to kind of lump them together so that I can upload them quite regularly for you guys. So I actually haven't kind of been doing this now for a couple of, or certainly about a week, because I've been busy with other things. So I'm just putting this one back in to kind of get myself back in the zone of what we've been doing so far, because otherwise I'm going to struggle to kind of remember what, you know, what types of things we were doing. So I was using obviously some of this just manuscript kind of paper. So now, because this is obviously, you know, I just want to have a couple of items here really, I need to make my things pretty small. Now that's in itself kind of a stretch for me sometimes. So I'm just going to have a little piece from this, which was our initial piece that we did with the watercolours and the stamps. And as you can see, I mean, I'm kind of running out of this a little bit, so we might have to come on and do another one of those, maybe use some other stamped images. So we'll just kind of pop this here. Oops, I'm now trailing threads of fabric. I thought it was hot glue, but fabric there. I have got a small piece of butterfly actually, because we tore that butterfly in half, so could have the butterfly perhaps. That's quite nice, isn't it? So I'll take that script out. And then we also incorporated a little bit of the blue with the red flowers in, I think, these pieces. They were kind of taken like that. So I've just got a little section here that we could kind of have somewhere kind of poking out. What do we think? That was maybe better kind of going over that butterfly actually, strangely enough. I never would have thought that, but it actually does look better. Oops, pop that postage stamp up the right way. So, I mean, something like that. Personally, I think that looks quite nice as it is. And because I wanted to kind of keep the vintage kind of section of the book on here. So that's, I think how I'm going to kind of go for that. Now, just before I do actually commit and stick that down, I just want to double check that I wouldn't prefer to have a bit of music page or book page instead of the manuscript. So I'll just kind of swap that out. And again, I'm going to stand up and kind of see through the lens, because sometimes it looks, you know, different kind of looking through there too close up. So that's the book page. Oh, I quite like both, so now I'm struggling. I'm going to go for the book page. Right, and I'm really trying my hardest, again, not to be overthinking this. I don't want to kind of bore you guys to tears. So I'm just going to take my glue. I'm still persevering with that same glue that I've been having all those problems with, would you believe? So it's the same pot. So which is kind of, oh, I've just seen a horrible bit of text there, so I'm just going to kind of tear that off. I don't know what book that was from, but it's just kind of some scraps laying around on my desk. Right, and then I'm going to pop the butterfly piece down. Yeah, still persevering with that same glue, but it seems to have improved. So I'm looking forward to when it's actually finished, and I'll get a fresh tube of glue that will hopefully behave a lot better than this one has. So I'll just kind of pop that like that. Okay, and then I'm going to pop that postage stamp on. Oops, like that. I mean, I just thought, you know, there's no need to always have the collage kind of right around the entire piece. So, you know, for me, I just thought having this gorgeous piece of this vintage, you know, the book jacket cover was really cool to be able to then have a bit of collage to the side, but still keep, you know, the actual book page kind of visible. So, and then I've got those little fabric ruffles, you see, that I've been kind of obviously doing. And these are just hand stitched ones, but they're just kind of quite handy because they're obviously tiny compared to the big ruffles that we use. So they're just kind of ideal to just pop on. I mean, doesn't that look cute down there? So I might actually hot glue this one into place like that. So, and I mean, again, I'm just using the hot glue because obviously for speed, whilst I'm doing this video, oops, it saves me obviously having to kind of wait for it to dry or hold it in place or anything like that. So I love how that looks. Really, really pretty. Now, as I say, you know, I'm not sure whether I need to reinforce this piece or not. It's probably okay. You know, obviously this section is thickened up now from the kind of layering that we've got going on there. But I am always a little bit kind of paranoid that it's not quite, you know, as strong as it could be. So I've just got a kind of scrap here. I might just reinforce it kind of. I don't know whether that's big enough. Hold on. Right, got some old book page here. So I might just reinforce it with this. Like that. And I'll just reinforce it over the entire piece, I think. So, because otherwise sometimes what can happen if you just do it over this piece, because I'm thinking the other piece is reinforced enough, if you see what I mean, what happens is then you can get a weak part, you know, in where you've got the kind of sections. So I'll just do the whole lot like that. Okay. I mean, I don't know whether that was necessary, but, you know, I'm always a bit paranoid about them not being quite strong enough. So that's that one. Just tear that slightly, just so as we can't really kind of see that overhanging. Like that. So Gone with the Wind, I do love that film. I love Rhett Butler. He, wow, very handsome man, wasn't he? And his lines are just so funny in that movie. I mean, I know most people wouldn't really put that down as a comedy, but it's very comical when you kind of listen to, I mean, his lines in particular. Mammy, she also had some very funny lines. And Scarlett herself had some pretty funny lines, didn't she? So, yeah, really great movie. And actually the kids quite liked it too. They thought it was a good film. And especially when you think it's kind of 80 years old, it's amazing. Right. So that's that piece done. Loving that. Now, let me just pull in the other section. So I'm wondering whether there's anything that we can kind of do with this. Let's have a look. Just kind of having a bit of a think here. I mean, the thing is, if I kind of have it like that, it would then be glued down anyway. So then you're going to kind of lose what's there. Unless we have it kind of as a little folding kind of flip. That's just going through kind of in my mind the types of things that we could potentially do with this. So just having a look. I wonder whether we could make one of those kind of matchbook type books. The only thing is, this is actually quite brittle when it kind of bends too much. So once we've kind of collaged this section up, it's not going to be all that easy to tuck in and out, because obviously that collage, although, you know, it's fine when it's flat. Oh, that's my side opening one actually. It's quite stiff, obviously, from all the glue. I mean, I guess that's why people use the glue sticks. You know, I just don't have much faith in the glue sticks for kind of long-term holding pieces down, but I haven't tried them for a long time, as I've said before, so, you know, maybe they have improved. So, you know, kind of for tucking in and out, I'm not sure how flexible that would then be. So, well, I think what we'll do, I'm just going to kind of tear this strip off, and I might just make another piece similar to this. Now, I'm not particularly keen on this illustration. For me, that doesn't kind of feel, it's not really in keeping with the, you know, what I'm trying to kind of achieve here with the collage. So I'm going to, I think, kind of cover that portion up quite a bit. Just by kind of collaging over it, I think. So let's just bring our pieces back in. So might use the frame here or the bird cage. So let's have a look. I love using frames. You know, just they give you such awesome imagery. I just really love them. So we've got that one there. Now I'm just going to having another look through the other pieces that I've got here. So obviously I've got that piece of manuscript that we didn't end up using just now. And again, I'm going to try and do just kind of a section of collage. So we've still got the, you know, that red kind of showing, because I just think that looks really pretty. So I don't want to kind of hide it completely, you know, under there. Well, that was the piece of manuscript actually. So many bits that I've now torn up and just as kind of lost in there. So let's have a look. So like that. And then just having a look, I'm just going to bring this kind of these pieces back, because what's happened, I kind of started out, I didn't have any blue, and then I kind of went down the blue route, and now all the pieces are taken on the blue. And for me, I then will struggle to then incorporate this piece. So What I might do is try and keep the blue out of here, which again, that might be now a struggle because I really like the blue. And I haven't got very much of these pieces. I need to print a few more out if I'm going to kind of want to use more of these. This is just some pieces from my Gypsy Rose kit, but I just thought that, you know, these would go really nicely in here. So if we were to use this one, we could kind of have it like that. And then just going to kind of bring this one back so that I can kind of, you know, get back in the zone of these colours more. So the other thing that I used was some of this also from my Gypsy Rose kit. So I might just tear another piece of that out. See whether we could have that somewhere. Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it? Yep, I like that. Now, I'm just going to grab some more sheet music because I've kind of used all the sheet music that I did have. So, I'm just going to grab some more. Just tear it off. Oops. Kind of went a bit mad there, but never mind. So I might kind of get glue in some of this down because it's actually hard to obviously work when it's moving about all the time. So I might kind of do something like that. Might make this piece shorter. So let's get gluing it down and then we're committed and obviously things aren't moving about. So it's a win-win really. I'm going to go to the edge but leave that kind of red there, like overhanging, because that's really nice, isn't it? Now this piece we had like that because we have obviously the it's, you know, a corner piece, and again we could kind of have a postage stamp somewhere on here where I've got the red one. I wonder if we fill it in like that. I think maybe I need a little bit more book page there actually, because or do we like it just with the red kind of coming through? Maybe just the red actually. Maybe just the red. So I'm just going to kind of glue this piece down. Going to kind of move it slightly down like that, so we've got some coming out beneath the frame. And then probably the best thing to do is glue this piece down next over here. I glue it this way around because that then is better shaped, you know, to the base, if you see what I mean. Like that. And could, oops, have that like that. What do you think? I'm going to have this book page this way round. I might have it like that. I'll just pop this on. Yeah, I must say these collage pages, they're quite fun to do. you know, I do find it quite a challenge, and still now, you know, I'm finding it challenging kind of mixing the colours and things, you know, so that I'm getting a bit braver in my, you know, colour combinations and what have you. I'm just wondering, do I want that or do I want a green one? Or perhaps this lady stamp. Might have her there instead. So like that. And then pop this one down. Like that. There we go. So I'm really trying my best to speed up, you know, considerably, and really not overthink this, but that is tricky. So yeah, that is tricky for me. So again, what I'm going to do is just reinforce this slightly, because you know, just to make sure it's really kind of well stuck down. So I use this. Yeah. Sorry, not to make sure it's well stuck down, to you know, reinforce the strength of it. Okay, so I just pop that like that. I mean, as I say, I don't really know whether it kind of needed it, because, you know, that was reasonably sturdy, but I just feel a bit better really if it is reinforced. So we've got that like that. I'm just going to tear down here so it's kind of a bit better, and I'm going to tear across the top a little bit, because I wasn't that happy with the green of the piece with the frame, where it was overhanging a lot. For me, that just looked a bit strange. So that looks a little bit better now for me. Right. So I like how that looks. And then if I just move these pieces out of the way. I mean, this takes keeping scraps to a whole new level, really, doesn't it? When we're keeping these minuscule pieces, really. So I'm just going to bring my little pile of goodies back in, because if you watched kind of an earlier episode, I did have some stamped pieces and some little shapes and things, which are now completely obviously lost in this pile. Got that. A little flower, but we did say we weren't incorporating the blue, so I mustn't really add that. Right, I'm going to have a thought through this pile, I think, before I do the next video, because it's now just getting a bit too messy to be able to kind of find things. But that's what happens, isn't it, when we do the videos and kind of keep the stash there. Right. So on this piece, I'm just going to kind of maybe incorporate, I've got this stamped butterfly here, which just happens to be on red, which perfect, you know, for this piece. Got this one here, says special edition. That's quite nice as well. Do we need that on there? Not really, probably. Got that bird, which I'm determined to use this bird at some point, but I don't want it getting lost. So this maybe is actually the perfect piece, because obviously he sits quite nicely down there on the red, you know, making a statement on its own. Obviously I don't really want to incorporate the denim, because, you know, for me that's then adding a bit of blue. Right, so let's move these out of the way. And I'm just going to glue on this little fabric stamped butterfly. Looks super cute there, doesn't it? Let me get some tissue to dab that out. There we go. And then the bird. Hope that I'm in frame. It's been a mixture of stood up and sat down on this video. So obviously I'm sat down at the moment, which means I cannot see the screen at all. So, oh gosh, let me just try and grab the bird's tail, which is kind of like bent over and creased. So I want to make sure that I really manage to get that stuck down. There we go. Just dab that off with the tissue again. Kind of like alter the shape of the bird a bit. Get him how I want it. There we go. Oh, doesn't that piece look cute now? And then what we could do is we could add some buttons or something. We didn't add any buttons to this one. So again, I did sort some buttons out the other day. But now they're obviously kind of buried in amongst that pile. So I might be better off just kind of looking back through my tin. Oh, I love that heart straight away. That kind of was just jumping out at me. So I'm just going to grab a few more. Now, I said last time, these are, you know, my new buttons, if you see what I mean. So they're not new. I haven't bought them recently, but they're not my vintage buttons. And I apologise if I'm repeating myself, but yeah, I've pulled these in because I just thought the colours are kind of better for this project, because this is quite a colourful, vibrant project. And, you know, some of the vintage ones are a bit more kind of subdued colours. So I thought this would be ideal to pull buttons from these modern ones, really. And I'd just say now, actually, I do apologise if I repeat myself all the time. I hate it when programmes do that. You know, when you're watching a programme on telly and after the adverts it comes back on and then it does a recap of what they've done. And that bugs me so much. But despite that, the reason I do it is because, you know, kind of if people haven't watched like an earlier episode, I'm not saying this is a series, but, you know, if they didn't watch the last one of these, I don't want people to kind of not know what I'm doing, if that makes sense. So, you know, kind of, is it better to just repeat yourself constantly for people who have watched the earlier episode, or is it better to keep those people who haven't in the dark? I'm not quite sure. Right. To me, that looks super cute, just as that is. And I did manage to resist using any touches of blue in there. So, you know, I'm quite pleased with that. And obviously they're reinforced, so they're nice and kind of sturdy now, or they will be once the glue's kind of dried. Finally managed to use that super cute little bird there. Yeah, really, really like them. So that's another couple of pieces now that we've got going towards our, you know, finished kind of pieces. So we're gradually kind of building up and getting a few more, you know, as the kind of, as the parts, I guess, of this go by. So that's probably all I've got time for today, but I will come back as soon as kind of I get a chance to do some more little collage pieces with you guys. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks, Em. Bye.